When you look at step 2, came to believe that a power greater than yourself could restore you to sanity. Look at those 3 first words. Came to believe. It doesn't say you know. Don't misconstrue step 2. I've worked the steps with a lot of people, and they really get in this thought they have to know what their God is or what it looks like. 7 billion people on earth, nobody knows what God looks like, right? But we're trying to conceive this image of what it is, and really it's felt right here. So whatever you choose your higher power to be, that's fine. See, I'm somebody that also looks at somebody and I judge them by their actions, not by their beliefs, right? I pray that my God's higher power reflects in my actions and not the way I talk about him. So when we're looking at step 2 and coming to believe, it sounds like that's a process. And the thing about the addict and alcoholic is we're really impatient. We're very black and white as well. So step 2 is coming to believe, and being even willing to believe is enough. You know, I was watching the show on Netflix called Cosmos, and they were talking about these stars, and every time a star twinkles, right, it happened to 50 to 500 years in the past. And it took that amount of light years to reach our eye. Think about that. When you see it twinkle, that was 50 to 500 years in the past. That's how infinite and expanding the universe is. But here I am trying to conceive and conceptualize a higher power. Some say that God stands for good orderly direction, or even group of drunks, an AA meeting. Whatever you are willing to believe is enough. Because guess what? Just like the universe, it's going to expand. I personally didn't come into Alcoholics Anonymous or recovery because of some divine intervention. That Mechie Scherpereel was so special, right? I came in because I felt like death. And what I found out is that you people drink and drug just like I did, and now you don't. And I was curious, but that right there was enough. I was willing to believe there's something that could make me be like them. You're telling me that I wake up and I don't have to reach for that pipe no more? That I wake up, I don't have to reach for that bottle? What did you do to do that? And it's funny because every one of them say the same thing. They work the steps. They got a sponsor. They go to meetings. Trust God, clean house, and help others. When it comes to step 2, doubt your doubts. Because the truth of it is this preconceived notion of contempt prior to investigation. AA doesn't work. You know what? If you think it doesn't work, you're absolutely right. It doesn't. Because if you come in with that closed mind, what's going to happen? The man that thinks he can and the man that thinks he cannot are both right. So think about it that way. Doubt your doubts. Because I've met people that have come in and say, man, recovery doesn't work. They're right. They screw it all up. They self-sabotage just to prove that it didn't work. But I've also met people that have come in and said, maybe I can do this. Maybe I have a chance at this life. And they worked these steps, and guess what? They were right as well. Step 2 to me is all about willingness. We've discussed step 1 and with acceptance and surrender, willingness, open-mindedness are with step 2. Now, step 3. Made a decision to turn my will and my life over to the care of God as I understand them. Now that kind of takes a huge step, right? 1, we admitted we were powerless over alcohol, that our lives had become unmanageable. 2, came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. And then 3, made a decision to turn our will and life over to the care of God as we understood. There's a huge jump. But really, this is all about action. How many decisions have you made in your life that meant absolutely nothing? A lot, probably. I swear I would make a decision, I'm going to start this business, and I would YouTube all night, and I would sleep in, and then the next day I would just put it down. But I meant that decision with all my heart in that moment. Same thing with these steps. When you're making a decision to turn your will and life over to the care of God, as you understand them, you're turning over your thoughts and your actions. You know, sometimes it's all about perception. When I get a cut on my finger when I was a kid and I would stare at it, I would cry more. And my mom would always say, quit looking at it. See, the problem with alcoholics is sometimes we focus and delve so much on the problem that we're not even able to see the solution. So with God, turning our will and our life over to the care of God is pretty simple. What is my will versus what is its will? Now, my will, I hate when people say, oh, I just want to live a righteous life and do good. That's bull crap. My will is to have the last word, for people to do as I wish, to always be in control, and back in the day to drink with impunity. That's my will. That's what I want in life. And what I want in life has never led me to the right thing, even with good intentions. Now, what's God's will? God's will for me, and I'm very weary of people who speak for God, is to be 3 words: happy, joyous, and free. If your higher power does not want those things, I would switch higher powers. Seriously. Now, how do I align my will, right, to always be in control and do this, to being happy, joyous, and free? I can't. I have to surrender that will. Now, I know it's scary, because the hardest thing about giving my life and will over to God is, what if I don't get what I want? What happens if it didn't turn out the right way or the way I want it? But remember, I said this in the beginning, sometimes bad things end up being blessings. You have that Chinese proverb, right? And this Chinese farmer is sitting outside, and his horses disappear. And some of the villagers go up and say, "Man, this is bad news. This isn't good. Your horses are gone." He said, "We'll see." The next day, his horses not only returned, they brought back 10 other horses with them. Then a week later, his son falls off one of the horses and breaks his back. The villagers walk up. "This is terrible. Your son broke his back." And he said, "We'll see." A week after that, they had a draft, and his son wasn't drafted into the war, and everybody in that war died. See, sometimes we don't know what's best for us. And I know that's humbling hearing, but it's the truth. My will led me off to the penitentiary. My will dealt with CPS cases. My will made a lot of abandonment issues. My will created a lot of destruction in my life, right? But when I surrendered my will over to something greater than myself, because alcohol, let's be honest, was greater than us. How did I feel when I had a pocket full of dough and some money and clean underwear? I felt great. But how did I feel without it? So if the drugs and alcohol were greater than us and could dictate our lives, why can't a higher power? So really, when we're talking about this decision, we really want to talk about the action. And that's just finishing the rest of these steps. Keep it simple.